it there. You all can watch along with me as I do this. And we have a little bit of a slow connection. So I just want to thank my guests for being so patient with this chaos here. Let's see.
Fine. I see no chaos.
It's just
Chaos is my natural environment. So
okay. That's
I just feel
well,
comfortable.
that ties into what we're doing, right? So hopefully this is uh doing its thing. Oh, wrong one. Wrong one. Wrong one. There we go. Okay. All right.
I turned off messages.
It should be going to live.
It said it was being live streamed.
Yeah, I'm just making sure it's doing what it's supposed to do from here. So it's part of the fun of okay, it's showing that
The scheduled one is just a separate video.
it's a new one.
Yeah, it's a new one on the YouTube channel.
Okay. So somehow we need to let people know what that link is.
I'll resend it to.
No, not to me. We need to get the word out where it's going to. And to send it to me. Okay. So.
And then your voice, how was it going to go through Zoom? It's not working.
No, they hear me.
I know, but we don't.
You can't hear me at all?
We hear you from there, but no speaker.
Oh, it's not coming out here? Okay, hold on.
I just got a text that said it's not, it says it's waiting on YouTube.
Yeah, okay. Hold on.
I need to check something.
Okay, that's my speakers. These should be as external headphones here. Our sound is on. Our speakers, did they turn off? No, they're on. Okay, this is weird.
Yeah. Did it work?
It was working before. Yeah. Okay, hold on.
Ooh.
Hello? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, everything else is like really clear through Zoom, so that's not
Just well, it's just her voice is the only one.
Oh, I thought it was the whole Zoom.
you.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't really do anything about that right now.
Okay. We'll just hear you from here.
Because I'm not going to be talking a lot,
Okay.
hopefully.
All right.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I got distracted. So, okay. Hunter, if you'll send me, you could send me the link too, and I'll share it with, okay, with the gang. Where did you send it to? Nope, I got it. Let's see. Here we go. Just so if we want to share it to friends. Okay.
And I
Is
haven't
it the same link from earlier? Because I've already shared that one.
Yeah, I shared it too, but unfortunately it's not working because of our technical issues. This is why it's really fun to do tech when you're trying to be a moderator too. Anyway, so can you all hear me enough?
Yes.
Okay.
except I have one question.
Yes.
I've turned off my text messages on the computer, but they're still coming through. Are they going to show up to everybody? Like I just saw that one appear and I X'd it out. Okay. It won't show
Yeah.
up on the screen to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
I turned it off, but it's still coming through. Okay.
Okay, well, sorry about all this. This is what I suspected would happen. Hopefully, because we have two more in this series coming, the next one will have full tech support. It'll be great. and it'll be at UNM. And then the other one should be at another theater for the Taos Film Fest. Anyway, so taking a deep breath, and I apologize because I've been working 24/7 and I'm feeling a little under the weather all of a sudden from a lot of production. So I'll take a minute just to go into thanking these four people for joining me. I had an idea when we had this extra night to have some kind of content for our showcase to talk to people who have had a kind of a zigzaggy trajectory and done amazing things, not unlike me. My background, I came from a family where I had a very, let's see, metaphysical, artistic mother, and I had a military intelligence father. You couldn't think of a more delightful combo. But my mom always encouraged me to follow my passion, follow my art. But on the other side of things, my father wanted me to go to Annapolis or go into the military or whatever. If I couldn't do that, I was supposed to go academic, and all I wanted to be was an artist. And just being the rebel that I am, I went, I kind of, I just sort of went on a free fall trajectory, and it got me into a lot of trouble, good trouble. It got me into tech when the web was just emerging. It got me into co-managing media relations for Burning Man in 1996, and all sorts of fun things. And we don't have to hear my story, but more and more, when I was kind of going off script, so to speak, I got a lot of slapback from people like I wasn't doing it the right way. And I felt a little isolated for years, but then I started meeting more and more people who also went off script and just went on these incredible journeys and have done some incredible work. Um, I have known Joe Ray for a really long time. We were single moms together in Austin. We raised our kids together, and she's an incredible beacon in the music realm. Jerome, I also met in Austin, and he just happened to be our Hunter Tripp's one of her art teachers at one point in time, and he's done some amazing things. Isaiah, I've only recently met through UNM Taos, but he is, all of you have this multidimensionality to you. You have this polymathematicalism. See, I can't even talk anymore. It's the OSHA speaking. And I'm just impressed with everything he's done. And Dia, I met on Blue Sky. Go figure. But I'm in awe of her work. We connected on some really interesting, sort of metaphysical things, art, going beyond the pale. And then I found out she grew up north of Taos. So it all worked out. So I thought, okay, why can't they be part of an ongoing dialogue? And I hope to continue this to explore doing it differently, bringing together different skills, breaking down those silos and combining them in new and interesting ways, which you all have done in one way or the other. So this first talk or discussion is going to be breaking free from restrictive labels, making up your own. What if you just think beyond borders, beyond boxes, beyond strictures, and so on and so forth? And I want to hear about your journeys. And so the way it's gonna go is that we'll have a kind of initial discussion, how you each went beyond the label. I'm going to have you each introduce yourselves. And then we'll have a little intermission so everybody can have a bio break. And then we'll come back and have the second part of the discussion, just giving everybody some tips on thinking like a creative entrepreneur. So does that sound good? I think as we go along further, we'll go into more flow because I'll be out of my chaotic brain space. So anyway, maybe I will go from person to person, in order of who I see here. And just give me, excuse me, let me get my notes here. Just give me an idea of what is it you do at this time. It can be more than one thing. What you're passionate about, and what drew you to participate in this wacky panel. So, Joe Ray, why don't we start with you?
Okay. Okay. So, well, I first got into all of this when I was a very frustrated secretary and I wanted to do something different. And then my sister, who's a photographer, this all started in Houston. She just asked me, she was shooting a show, Little Stephen and the Disciple of Souls at a club. And she said, do you want to write a review on the show for Public News? It was a local paper. And I said, sure, but I'd never done that before at all. And I really loved it, really loved writing. And I was thinking, God, I hope they like this so I can continue doing this. And they did. And then I did a lot of interviews with bands for that publication and others, um, local bands, and then REM, and just a whole slew of bands at that time. It was a lot of fun. But then that led me into working at Fitzgerald's a nightclub and being their publicist and being the band greeter and then writing for the paper and doing ad sales and just everything. It was self-learning. I was a waitress there too. It was fun. Worked in the office as a publicist, and then it just went on from there. So, but yeah, I found my niche, so to speak, or the beginning of all that.
So what are you passionate about? Why is the music drawn you this way?
I just really love working with musicians. I mean, the thing that I love, what I also love probably equally or more is writing. And so I didn't want to really continue interviewing bands. And so now I'm actually working on a book now. So it's going to be like two page vignettes about experiences that I had during that time and now too. But it'll be funny stories and that sort of thing. But I love working with musicians. I feel like I'm not, I don't feel like I feel like I'm part of that world as if I was one, but I'm not. It just feels like my groove always has. And I like just working together, collaborating, coming up with ideas together. It's got to be a two-way street. I work a lot of CD releases, digital releases. I've done a ton of benefits, events, worked at South by Southwest as their publicity director for 10 years. So I like a lot of just different things to keep it all exciting and interesting. Because when I worked at South by Southwest, I also worked with bands on the side
Mhm.
too. I mean, they knew that. They, like a lot of us that worked there, had other things going on as long as it didn't affect what we were doing there. And that was in the beginning days of the conference. So, yeah. But yeah, I just like the way it makes me feel, just kind of invigorated for the most part. I mean, there's ups and downs with it all. Sometimes I think like, my God, I must be crazy to be in this, like, because it's essentially, I have my own company, Hard Press Publicity, but it's still sort of that gig economy. It's not all like if I was in a corporate office, but that never appealed to me. So nothing
And what
wrong with
drew you to this panel to agree to this?
what?
What drew you to agree to participating in this panel?
Well, you know, I like the subject matter. You, of course. Um, drew me to it. But I like it's exciting to think of what you can do outside of what somebody tells you can do. I mean, my dad at one time, I mean, he thought it would be great if I just got married and had kids, to whoever that was, you know. And he never really got what I did until at one point I did go to England with Ronnie Lane, Faces reunion at Wembley Stadium. And actually, there was a clip of me walking Ronnie on stage that ran on MTV and the other popular video, I can't remember, VH1. So my dad saw that and then he called me and he was all excited. So it was just kind of funny, like it took that, not all the other stuff. But that's just where that was him, his way of, and he was very artistic. He was a tailor and he was also an artist. And he wound up being an insurance man, very successful at that. But it's just funny that he couldn't get that that's my sister and I both went really his path and my mom's too,
Mm-hmm.
his original path.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Dia, you want to tell us a little bit about you and what you do, what you're passionate about, and what drew you?
So I'm a writer. That's my main jam and my major malfunction. I am also the creator of the Pink Zombie Rose series. So that's kind of my special interest. And increasingly, in having to promote these projects, I find myself being forced to fill other roles.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. What drew you to participate in this?
I skipped the passions question.
Oh, yes,
Um,
passions.
Oh, well, so my passions are philosophy and mysticism, existentialism, punk, art, um, even kink, and all of that plays into the Pink Zombie Rose series. What drew me to the thing? So I wasn't sure at first, actually, because I didn't, I saw the topic was like multi-talents, like the Renaissance men of yesteryear. And I'm just a writer and single-minded in my focus. And so I was not sure that I apply, it was applicable to me. And like, do I even qualify as a creative who occupies multiple spaces? And in order to say yes to the panel, I kind of had to accept that, yeah, this has changed. Writing has changed for me there was a time where I could just write in the attic with the poetry and the syphilis. And I don't really have syphilis, but um, you get the vibe.
Yeah.
And there was a time that I could disappear into the work like a hermit, and that time has passed because the work is out there and it needs to be promoted. So it's changed. My role and me needing to step into multiple roles is all changing really rapidly and recently.
That's interesting. And I'd love to come back around in a bit and explore that a little more, like why you think that is, world changing and that kind of thing. So,
Well, I think too, maybe not every writer, but for me, it's just quickly becoming apparent that it's going to be about more than writing. It's going to be about voice.
interesting. Thank you. Jerome.
Hi. So what are the two questions is what I do and what drew me to this, right?
Oh, and also what you're passionate about.
And what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
So my handle online and in other places is J Alex the Technologist. And I'd say that's very much what I'm passionate about is tech is not just technology, but the human technology interface and the ways that we can work together, that we work with technology. Very interesting time that we're living in right now with AI, some of the benefits of it, and some of the really terrible ways that it's being promoted by, I think, my friend will say glorified tapeworms with MBAs, but not to anyone who's got MBAs. But so here's how it is that I got to where I am now. I'm a military brat. I moved around a whole lot growing up from like Rhode Island, Virginia. I lived in Yokosuka, Japan for 3 years. I was there when like 9/11 happened. So that was an interesting space to be on that world-changing event. And then Pensacola, Florida, and the Panhandle, where I had culture shock coming back to the United States. And then did college at University of Florida, where I studied telecommunication production. So really learned a lot about how television and broadcast and the business of it all, and really also getting into video production, which is where I am now, but I'll get to that in a moment. So yeah, I finished my undergrad degree with sort of like film, television. It was also the early days of YouTube, and so I was making some short films and some short web series that really kind of like I really started enjoying doing a lot of storytelling that way. But once I finished school, undergrad, I knew I didn't quite want to go to Hollywood or really get into that industry because it just wasn't things just didn't quite like look right for me. Plus, I also didn't get into FSU Film School, so I kind of put it down for a moment. But then my dad sent me a link to East Tennessee State University's New Media Studio program, which was a combination between the digital media department and the art department. And so I came in with a lot of technology skills already with like Adobe, Photoshop, After Effects, all those kinds of things. But then I got to combine it with learning about the Unreal Engine. And if you, those of you who are video game players, I've been a game player since like my earliest memories. The Unreal Engine is one of the most prominent video game creation tools. And so while I was at East Tennessee State University, I learned how to combine storytelling and art because that was the other part of my program, and particularly like new media art. And I remember going to the Smithsonian Museum of Art and discovering Nam June Paik while there. We went to the history of video games exhibit that was touring at the Smithsonian at that time. And it really did just like open up my mind to the possibilities to where I made my final capstone project and thing that I was studying in school was what was called natural user interface. Fancy way of saying the Microsoft Kinect. If anyone remembers things like Dance Central, those things with the Xbox at the time. And I made some art installations that utilized body tracking and an old magic trick called Pepper's Ghost, where you reflect an image onto a pane of glass. So imagine this is glass. If I put a projection right here, it would reflect on this pane of glass and make it look like something is floating there. And I combined that with the Microsoft Kinect.
Cool.
So then after grad school, I decided to move to Austin, Texas. And the reason why at the time was because I was hearing that Google Fiber was like going to its second city, which was Austin. And so that told me that, hey, there must be something interesting going on down there if there's all of this money into that infrastructure that's about to be poured into. That plus I didn't have enough money to get to Seattle, so Austin was closer. And that's where I lived for 6 years, where long story short, started teaching at a small private school called Skybridge Academy, where Hunter was one of my first students and where I met Maggie and a lot of other mutual friends. I also got into the Burning Man scene while I was out there and took two major projects out to Playa in 2016 and 2018, and really started getting around in that new media artist culture that was out there. Fast forward a couple of years, and then I got recruited to Meow Wolf, if anyone is familiar with that art installation, that art project that started in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where I reside now. And while I was there, some of the light fell out of my eyes after a couple of years of working there because there are some serious labor issues that are happening there. But that's because there are labor issues that are happening everywhere. We're in just this time right now where a lot of the incentives for corporate structures and for the ways that finance is working and all of these things are really not centering the humans. They are centering the system, and that system, we're seeing the results of what it is creating in our world every single day. And so, long story short, with that, after 6 years of working there, I got laid off about a year ago, and 10 days, like in 10 days, it will have been a year that I got laid off from there. But in that year, I started a small journalism collective called 505-O-Matic. And this was started by two of my colleagues. Some of them are actually also former Meow Wolf employees.
Wow.
And was started because right after last year's election, they had noticed that there was a bit of a, we'll say, desert of information and news that was more aligned with the progressive, human-centered, family value, and I'm saying, when I say family values, I mean in actually, like, hardworking families and people who are putting labor into making sure that our communities are nice and healthy and safe. There's just wasn't a good information environment for us, particularly in social media, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, those places. But we did see some of our people on the other side of the political aisle had some really strong independent journalism outfits, we'd call it. So we started 505-O-Matic. That's been going for about a year. And we are really social media focused. We're meeting people where they are. We've also been having monthly events out in Santa Fe called the Living Room Series. Most recently, we had a local election with for the mayor and for city council, and we were holding these live events called the Living Room at the Jean Cocteau Theater, where we invited the community and we invited various politicians or journalists,
Nice.
those folks, and had conversations with them. And that's been really fulfilling for me and for us in the community to really, in this very turbulent time, to be doing something that I feel like is informative and is benefiting the community that I'm a part of, and that the community is actually finding some value in, and have been building that business, getting to the point that next year we'll actually be able to hire ourselves and start making money. We've got a fundraiser going on. There's a bunch of like really great activity that's happening there. But so there's that. And then I also have my own YouTube channel, Alex the Technologist. I'm dropping a new video tomorrow, so give me a like and subscribe.
Right
I'm
on.
supposed to say. Where I'm talking a lot about game design, but the concepts that are used in video game design, I'm applying to politics and life and jobs and all sorts of things, because I do a lot of study of philosophy and economics, and I'm trying to like find the ways that those game systems and that our life systems all combine together. And I'm gonna put a pause on it there because I could go for hours. But yeah, that's me.
Well, well, I love it because you're really explaining what I'm talking about, where it's all there's not one or the other, it's all together, and I love that. So thank you. We'll come back to more of that. Um, Isaiah.
Hello. Is it too loud in there or is it good? Cool, cool. He's to my left, so.
They're in their little chambers down below the crow's nest here. So.
Could you repeat the question one more time?
So yeah, tell us about who you are, what you do, what you're passionate about, and why you agreed to do this crazy experiment.
I've been doing audio engineering for about 10 years now. I started when I was like 13, but didn't take it serious till I was around 16. And then right around 18, fell in love with the video aspect. So I do color grading, editing, and sound design and Foley, stuff like that. What was the second part? Was it my passions?
Yeah, what you're passionate about.
Passionate about?
Yeah, passionate about.
I guess my passions would be to inspire the youth of Taos to keep trying. Growing up here, born and raised here, you didn't have a whole lot of opportunities. So, you grew up around gangs, drugs, and stuff like that. That influence is always there. So I guess my passion is telling those youth in Taos, hey, there's a better outlet in life than falling into that trap. The reason why I did this panel and to try this experiment, I was a little hesitant, and I really thought about it, and I sat back and I was like, I know why I'm going to do it. Shout out Rico. He's in the crowd. He's actually one of the reasons why I wanted to do this.
Rico.
It inspired me to like talk to that youth in Taos. Like, hey, there's college, there's opportunity, there's plans for the future instead of a dead end street, life in prison or dead from drugs or gang violence. So yeah, that's quick little run around of what I do and what I'm about.
Right on. Thank you.
Mhm.
For this next part, I think that I want to do like we won't do round robin. Just gonna drop a question, and if you're inspired, please speak up. Maybe we should be able to do it without the raising of the hands thing because that drives me nuts. But let's just see how it goes. So just see what inspires you, and we'll go from there. So we've all obviously followed roads less traveled, or we've gone zigzag instead of a straight line in our lives. When did that call emerge in you? When did that kind of like, I'm going to do it different? When did that happen?
Well,
For-
I was born on a commune in northern New Mexico and spent my formative years in a painted bus. So I think I was raised on the road less traveled.
Right on. Anybody else? Didn't.
Yeah, combination between grad school when I, like I said, new media studio. So a lot of, and I butted heads with the art teachers there too, because some of the art teachers were more into the traditional mediums, and not just me, some of my other more digital focused cohort. But that's when I also knew I was onto something when I was like, ooh, because all of the other great artists throughout time, don't they always also butt heads with their teachers? So that means I'm doing the right thing if they're not exactly happy with where we're going.
Mhm.
And I've just been that kind of guy ever since then of like, oh, if you're not liking something I'm doing, I must be onto something.
I think I had I have these two memories. One is the high I got from the smell of construction paper and crayons and mimeograph ink. There was something in there about the art thing. And then the other thing was my mom used to write me excuse notes to get out of school. And we would go and visit museums, and she'd take me to metaphysical bookstores and buy me books. And so she was teaching me to be subversive. Bless you, Mom. I miss you every day. But there was something in there that was bubbling something up. And she, she treated me like a peer as long as I could remember. We would have discussions about what we read. And she always had me, read between the lines. What do you think this means? Instead of, for instance, we read the Bible together, but it wasn't necessarily, for the spiritual wisdom. She was like, "What do you think this means?" She didn't tell me what it meant, and I never forgot that. So anyway, I just knew that that was somewhere in there. I wasn't going to do what my dad wanted me to do. So, and I didn't know where it would lead, but there was something there.
Maggie, do you think that there's a natural relationship between rebellion, subversion, and metaphysics?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, yeah, because in my case, it sort of helped me see that maybe this reality was planned to be the right one to, this is the right way and this is the right path. Maybe that's not necessarily true. So,
Right, I mean,
yeah, I questioned everything. There's no, it wasn't anything about enlightenment or anything. It was just kind of like, oh,
well, even
I,
reality might not be real.
right. I hate when that happens. Like, yeah, and just I always remember saying, what committee said it's supposed to be this way? I want to talk to them. Like, yeah, and just thinking like, why not do it differently? So,
Right.
um, I'd love to hear about, I already talked about it a little bit. Did any authority figures in your life have your life path laid out for you? Or were they supportive of your choice to follow your path, your creativity, or a little of both? Um, yeah.
I'm gonna go first because I have an interesting answer to that one because it's both for me. I like I said, my parents were uh, weirdos themselves. And so all of my authority figures, pretty much all of my parents, especially my father, my teachers, later my professors, even my grandparents, they all kind of had this sort of like lit star vision for me. And it wasn't like gonna be enough to just be a writer. I had to be like a famous author,
Mm,
and I had to have gravitas. And so even uh, any sort of like attempt that I made to make, because obviously the arts can feel overwhelmingly uphill sometimes. And I think I was aware of that even as a kid. But any attempt I made to sort of make it a more realistic goal or do a hybrid career like a teacher or an interior decorator or anything like that. But even wife, even mother was poo-pooed.
mm,
So um that was a kind of interesting thing. And now here I am, and I'm a childless writer who, like the Leonard Cohen song, is nobody's wife. Um, were they prescient, or was I pressured into this path? Um, I could probably like journal for 10 years and try to unravel that. But I do feel like I'm on the right path. And I think that pressure created in me that faith, sort of a delusions of grandeur,
mhm.
which I recommend. Get you some of that. Like we need it. We need it. That's the only way that we will do this.
Mhm,
Um, but on the downside, because of that pressure and that faith, so my dad died when my dad died way too young. I didn't have him.
mhm,
And then I had already moved to Austin from we all have Austin ties. I had already moved to Austin from Toledo, Ohio. So I didn't have my professors, I didn't have my mentors, I didn't have my literary community that I had been part of since I was a child. I know you Taos people will understand how that could happen. And I I didn't have that. I didn't have that faith. I didn't have that at my shoulders anymore. And so I did rebel. I fell in love and got into punk and opened a store and designed shoes. I did all kinds of stuff. But through it all, I did keep writing.
mm,
I was even still during this long extended hiatus of the 2 decades, I was working on Pink Zombie Rose. But I did it lawlessly because I was outside of the community.
love that.
So
Mhm.
I did it completely lawlessly, completely wildly. And I mean, if you can stand it, if your ambition will allow it, I do also recommend that.
Mhm.
But it did take me 20 years to get back on path. So maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
for
again,
me,
not
I
that's
feel like
yeah.
that, working so long for so many years, so lawlessly, has really established, me where I want to be. I'm not taking somebody else's voice. I don't feel pressured by the industry.
Exactly. I think that I think about like what Hollywood is churning out is just one example. And how many of, like I've had discussions with Hunter, like there's all this creativity and fandom and beyond of all these amazing stories, but they keep rehashing the same formula over and over and over again, and there's like this wealth of incredible creativity content waiting to come out, and it seems like I'm thinking of some part of what Jerome's talked about it's forming in new ways. There's these little new combos emerging from outside of the studio systems and the big production houses. And that's one of the things I'm paying a lot of attention to. So I love that you said that lawlessness.
Well, even within my story itself, it is a zombie story, which is very popular
Right.
in Hollywood and very, in the rut or in the but my zombies, they're not real, I mean, they just think they are dead.
Yeah.
But thinking is enough, as we know.
Right. And by the way, when we because of all the snafu with the YouTube and stuff, I'm letting you all know that we'll repost what we're recording, and I'll make sure everybody has everybody's links, okay? So that we get that out to the community. Does anybody else want to pick up that question about authority figures and
Yeah, I do because my story, my father, who has always been very supportive of me, but while I was in high school, things he tried to get me into were the chaplain corps because he's in the Navy and was also a Navy chaplain. He wanted me to go to the Merchant Marine Academy, and then when we went to the University of Florida and going around to the different tables for the different majors, I went over to the video production table, but he was like, "Hey man, look over there. You see the accounting table, and you see how nobody is like doing accounting, but you should become a
Mhm.
CPA." And I was like, "No, that sounds boring. I don't want to be a CPA." Ironic thing is that now all of these years later, I've been like a secretary treasurer or some sort of treasurer either for co-op or for my
yeah.
union, and now for 505-O-Matic. And running a business is hard. There are so many things that they don't tell you about state taxes and federal taxes and all these systems and things you got to like put together. It's like, how do people actually figure this stuff out? So I do recommend that, like, if you do have opportunity to learn, like, if you're going to go your own way, getting some means of like understanding finance, studying finance and studying like taxes and all of that stuff. Part of me does regret like not getting some of those tools under my belt because I'm just trying to make sure that Uncle Sam doesn't come after me very soon for getting all the taxes and everything straight. We're working on it. We're working through it, but like stuff is hairy. So now yeah, those are some of the ways that he was trying to like push that on me, but I decided not to do it, and they kept getting support, and they're proud of like what I'm doing now. But boy, yeah, treasury stuff is
Nightmare?
it's a nightmare. It's by design.
Right.
I think that when he was saying that, it made me think of when I was in high school, I took a lot of typing classes. And like I said, I was wound up being a secretary, and it was just kind of boring. And it's like, why am I doing this? It's just pointless. But now, or late years later, it's been incredibly helpful to know
Mhm.
how to run an office. I can still type 90 words a minute. So, it's like, so I mean, I that was sort of a typical thing that women did, like a lot of women. It was a secretary. There's nothing wrong with it. But yeah, and it just goes back to like my dad. I mean, we grew up with we had music in the house all the time. Like, my mom loved Janis Joplin, my dad loved jazz. Frank Sinatra was the epitome. But we grew up a lot with a lot of music and they were cool in a lot of regards. But then my father, it was like he wanted me to have the more standard
Mhm.
jobs. And my sister and I, she loved what we did. She was totally supportive, you know. And I don't know, I guess it was pretty much when my sister had asked me to write the review, is when everything changed.
Mhm.
So I don't have to do that. And I'm kind of, instead of being I do plan things, but I've never been one that's just planned out my whole life. Maybe in some ways I should have. I don't know. But the older you get, sometimes it's like, oh yeah, wow, oh yeah, I forgot to do that. But anyway, I think that I've been pretty much, oh, that looks cool over there. Like,
Mhm.
no, I'll do that. Or I had this friend, I was so naive in high school. I did nothing. I never cut classes. I was afraid I'd get in trouble. Good ex-Catholic girl and all that. But I had a friend in college who, that's where I discovered everything. But she was just in Houston, we go down to Montrose, but she knew all those bars we were never supposed to go into, right? And I was just, and she had actually, yeah, she had done drugs that I never did at one time. But to me, she was just fascinating. I didn't want to do the stuff she was doing, but it was like, wow, and we're in this club now that's sort of underground, and it wasn't just a regular nightclub with music. It was just bizarre. We're lucky we got out alive, but it was that kind of stuff. I don't know. I'm a Leo. I'm curious. I have no idea if the two connect that way, but yeah, I've always been kind of curious. It's like, okay, I'll move to Austin, when I was younger. Then I moved back to Houston, then I moved back to Austin. It's like, yeah, it's like there wasn't a lot of planning with any of that. I just did it. And I'm not saying that's the way that one should do it, but it's how I did it.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
and a lot of cool things happened because of that too.
Well, that kind of ties into the getting nudged off the trajectory thing, right? And I think about how, I took some typing classes too, because back in my day, it was the thing of like you had you had your typing skills and stuff, and it makes me laugh because Jerome talking about accounting, my dad being Navy too, but intelligence, he wanted me to be an accountant too, and all that, but. Um, I didn't have a lot of skills because I wanted to be an artist, and then I sort of free fell out into Berkeley, California, and I needed to work. And I took a job. I took the job that nobody would take, which was being a receptionist. Nobody would answer phones. It was like terrifying. I think it was the phones, like putting people through. But it was that one job that got me into learning all about computers, that got me into selling computers, all this other stuff. And if I hadn't taken that chance, or if I had just done something else, it just led to everything. So it's really funny. There's a knocking off the trajectory story. I would love to hear from any of you. We've been touching on some of this, but the idea of, you're moving along your merry way, and then something just out of the blue that you had no idea was coming. And I don't mean a negative thing like a broadside that shoved you a whole different direction or a whole different way of thinking. Yeah, we have some good stories about that.
Trying
I would say I
Yeah.
would say me getting a college degree was absolutely insane. Um, I'm like a first generation college student, or
Awesome.
got my degree. Um, my crew that I grew up with, my crowd, when I would be doing homework during high school or college, I'd be like, "Bro, you're a wimp. You're weak. What are you doing?"
Wow. Mhm.
That's that mentality. You know what I'm saying? That's just that street mentality. I would say that was probably the biggest thing. I didn't honestly, when I was like 14, hanging out around a bunch of gang members, I was like, I'll probably end up dead just like them or in prison just like them. So I was like, and then I turned 18. I was like, nah, I gotta make it. I gotta totally change my life because I want to see what life's about. My old teacher, when I was like a really bad student, so or a bad kid. I got expelled from the school and I went to a different school for troubled students. He told me, and this totally changed my perspective. He looked me dead in my eyes and he's like, Isaiah, don't let life happen to you. You happen to life. Totally changed my perspective. So
Mhm.
I would say that was probably the biggest thing is not falling into that path and going into college. So yeah, that's what I would say for that.
Well, and I would just say that, like you said, your gang and everything telling you like this is the way it's done, don't deviate from that. And you're like, nope, I'm bucking this. And share with us, tell us some of the amazing things you went through the FDMA program and with Peter. Share some of the amazing things that you've gone on to do because I really want everybody to hear this.
Yeah. So I met Peter Walker. I think it was like my eighth grade or ninth grade year. Can't really remember. I was already kind of I was already audio engineering, making music, recording artists, recording this, recording that, doing movie soundtracks. As you know, I was like 15, 16 years old. And somehow I got this elective going into, I think it was creative media or something like that. And sure enough, there's this guy named Peter Walker. And he was like, you kind of already do what I'm teaching. I was like, yeah, a little bit. So fast forward throughout high school, I would disappear. I leave to a different state. I probably moved like 30 times between sixth grade and my senior year in high school.
Wow.
And I was like, I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do after high school. Probably just go to LA, go to Chicago, New York, Miami, wherever, because I had already been doing music videos and music at that point. And Walker goes, you ever thought about college? It's like, huh, no, I never thought about it. So going from the high school to the college and doing that with him, I got my associate's degree. Then after I graduated, I went to Denver. And that was fun because I started my business, but the only downfall was during COVID. COVID had been like 6 months since COVID, which is okay though, because oddly enough, I was probably more busy during that time because everybody wanted videos and stream it and stuff. And put it
Right.
out there. So that did pretty well. And I'll never forget the day, August 21st, 2021. Something had happened in my life and I was devastated. And I looked in the mirror and I said, Isaiah, there's no one holding you back. I was like, screw it, we're going to LA. So I shot music videos out there. I went to Florida and I traveled all around the place doing that. Went to Albuquerque a lot, just kind of freelancing and working with this team. And I came back to Denver and full sended it. I was like, what now, right? After doing a bunch of stuff on that pro level. So I started walking to every business, every mom and pop, every Walmart, every Target, and asked them, I was, hey, can I speak to your general manager? And I was like, I'll shoot you a free commercial. I got turned down probably 1,000 times before I got a yes. I'm a firm believer, like you miss all the shots you don't take. You know what I mean? So I somehow ended up at Bass Pro Shops and did a really cool commercial for them. And later on, did some of their Super Bowl commercial stuff as well.
As one does.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's so cool.
Persistence is key.
Yeah, big time. Always, always. So now I'm back and I'm helping helping with my grandma, hanging out with my grandma and giving back to Quacker's program. So
That's awesome. Well, and like COVID is for you, like was a trajectory, boom, but so looking at it in a totally different way. And I really love that you pointed that out.
I've I've got an answer for this, which is my current trajectory that I'm on. So I said in my intro how I was laid off from Meow Wolf. So I got that job in 2018, and it was my first time getting a full-time job that had healthcare benefits and like a salary increase. Got paid enough that I was able to like buy a new truck, eventually like buy a house that I've got in Santa Fe, paying a mortgage on. Still, and that struggle is what it is. But the trajectory change definitely did come after 4 years of being there. I worked on two major exhibits. I opened up the one in Vegas and the one in Denver with some pretty novel concepts, basically turning the entire exhibition into a giant video game system, digitally speaking, with RFID cards and this whole software platform that's designed to be able to be built upon. But the problem came, about 4 years into my job there, where we hired a really terrible chief technology officer who actually just got fired a couple of weeks ago. Long overdue. Um, but he was just really terrible. And there was just like a lot of other really terrible decisions that were being made by leadership of people who didn't understand, who really just didn't actually like have an appreciation for the product or the people who are going to the exhibit or the people who are making the exhibits. They just don't have good got concepts of what it is that actually makes kind of the magic of the entire thing work. So last year, once the I knew that layoffs were approaching because being a board member on the union, we got we got a little bit of a heads up on that. And I'd been butting heads with this guy for like 2 years. So and I also heard through the other grapevine too that my name was going to be on that list. I was given an opportunity to change positions in the company. It would have to take a major pay cut in order to do that. And I just sort of looked around and said, like, this place is not healthy. It's not very toxic. It's very toxic. I don't think that we're moving in a very positive space. And also with it being kind of just after the election and things too, I just kind of had this idea in my mind that I don't want to be playing the fiddle while Rome burns. I don't want to be not to detract against anyone else who is still there, who's trying to like just make things work so that they can feed themselves and their families and have a decent paying job and healthcare in the system that we have. But I knew, hey, I have an opportunity here to like take some severance and to like go off on a different way and to actually use my layoff as a means of propelling myself. I did interviews with the Santa Fe, not the with the Albuquerque Journal. I got my picture in the paper, and that first story that 505-O-Matic did, I was actually their first interview subject. And then also on top of that, that's also when I started my YouTube channel, starting off with a video that was 3 different books that explained why it was that I was laid off. And those 3 books where How Big Things Get Done, which is about data analysis of why it is that projects, big and small, can fail or succeed. Asking the question, what is the difference between the building of the Empire State Building, which came in on time and under budget, versus the Sydney Opera House, which came like 10 years late and like destroyed somebody's career. Another one was by Cory Doctorow called Choke Point Capitalism, which is about how companies have gotten in the middle of the creative system, how it is that they are fleecing artists and they are fleecing the people who are trying to get to that artist work, and how they're really kind of destroying the creative ecosystems, but the ways that we can fight back. And the third one was by a guy named Chicken John Rinaldi, who anybody who's been around the Burning Man scene in those early days will know that guy. So you probably actually know this fella.
Yeah.
And his book was called The Book of the Un, and it was about how art collectives rise and eventually fall and turn into real estate scams, with few exceptions. And so in that like video, I've not topped it yet. I think I got like 12,000 off of that or something like that. So I knew the opportunity was coming, and I've been preparing myself actually for a couple of months to like use that. And I like took my layoff and I used it as a trampoline to get me to where I am now. And get my face out there and really just be like a bit of a curmudgeon in some of these folks' ears. And like I said, really point out how our systems are failing us now, but also how there are opportunities for us to do something better with it. So yeah, and again, I know there's a lot of people who are going through those kinds of trajectory changes now. People who are like long time in the tech industry and on these other businesses that are being just really like uprooted right now after years of putting themselves in. I really thought for years oh cool, I'm on my way to like eventually working at something like a Disney. Like we're building all these big exhibits and I've got big ideas, things that I was dreaming up while I was finishing grad school. I'll finally be able to practice. And then no, people just had to like snatch that away so that they can just continue to be on their own mediocre rise.
Right.
But
Yeah, I think one thing that in my when I'm not doing work for UNM Taos, I'm a member owner of a web development cooperative that has been in existence for 11 years now. And we've just recently gone through not just a rebranding, but a rethinking because I am at the point where I want nothing more to do with tech brodom. Uh, period. And we'll see if this continues to change the way we're hoping it does. But I just keep saying, I think it's been really helpful to be in that space of being in the cooperative movement, going to the cooperative conference last year in Chicago, which was so invigorating and inspiring, and then coming back, and then what happened in November was really depressing after everybody was like, but I'm really curious. I'm kind of going off script here because it's giving me an idea of thinking about, you know, um, we're trying to reinvent how we support one another, how we do things differently, how we support each other's, this is what's important to me. How do we support each other's work in a way that doesn't use all these ancient systems that just go back into like ego battles and, who owns what and where's the hierarchy and all this stuff. And I have this thing where I see things. I call it seeing it out of the peripheral vision. It's like trying to come into form. It's like something new is trying to emerge. And I would love to throw that out there and see if some thoughts spark for you folks.
I want to jump right in on that. And I'll try not to take up too much time. But so 505 Omatic, we are also building a cooperative model. We built a co-op model with that, where it's democratically run. I really trying to design it as a game designer, trying to design the system in such a way that in 4, 5, 6 years, if we get really big, that there cannot be some bad actor that comes in and is able to subvert the work of everybody. And that's what, like that last book I mentioned, the Book of the Young, gets into, is how to build yourself a constitution, the difference between like rules, which are like the things that you can and can't do, versus like rights and responsibilities. And so having a good focus on like, all right, we're all a part of this group. What are our rights as members of this group? And what are our responsibilities to each other? And figuring that out from the beginning. You have to slow down to speed up, and you have to figure those things out like from the start. And so, within that model, we've figured out a way to do like equity sharing and how to like earn sweat equity. There's another really good book called Slicing Pie, that is about how you can, if you don't have the funding to put into a company, but you do have the knowledge and the know-how, how it is that your sweat equity can get you pieces of equity into the thing. And if you are raising money, the ways that like the people who are putting money into the thing can also support you, but in such a way that it's not like that they can't just buy their way in. There's these really interesting models that are happening right now. I also recommend looking up, I think it's called A Corp. There's a new, instead of like a B Corp, there's this new concept that's come up the last couple of years about like an artist corporation and A Corp. Can't remember the name of the guy, but there's a TED Talk that's talking about it. And these new systems that we are starting to realize, like you're saying, Maggie, these old systems do not work. They are fleecing people, and they have created opportunities where bad actors and mediocre individuals who are low trust but high performing can rise to the top. We need to design from the ground up our systems in such a way, which is really the ways that a lot of systems used to be before things really got industrialized and this whole era of capitalism that we're in. There are a lot of little things that are starting to pop up right now, as all of us are realizing I have the knowledge and the know-how, and the talent and the ability and the time, but all of the financing and things are over here, but it doesn't have to be that way. Most of us, majority of us, want to operate in another way, and those systems are emerging. We're on the precipice of a lot of that. I think everybody in here we're all figuring that stuff out right now. And so it's actually a very exciting time, I think. Lots of opportunity.
Would anybody like to add to that? Any of your thoughts? I'd be curious to know what you're thinking about what you see emerging or not. It just feels like we're on, that precipice. It feels like there's massive change happening. Yeah.
There is. Except we all like, I'm just me over here with my company, if that makes sense. I'm not like, I'm just within my own world. seeing the changes that are happening, and they're not all positive. And it's like I have to, and I don't like the words positive and negative, but you know what I mean. It's true.
Right.
It's like it's changed so much. Like, actually, I really like sending out CDs better than digital links. But in the very beginning, I was more like, my son said to me, like, well, Mom, just think of it as that's an album. Like that link is an album, just like what you used to send a CD out. It's, it is and it isn't, but that helped me. This is a long time ago. And he's also likes the feel of CDs and albums and all that. But yes, of course, I send most of my stuff out that way now. But it's just, I don't know, it's just like all the publications that are gone. And even like sometimes I love Substack, but it was really cool when nobody knew what it was. You know what I mean? And now there's 5 billion people on there. Of course, and it's a great place for writers to go. I mean, I'm on there. I plan on putting stuff out on there soon, and I like seeing a lot of music writers who used to be editors and the head of entertainment editors and all that, newspapers and magazines, and now they're, doing that. They're on Substack, having to find different ways to do what you do. So, I mean, I'm definitely always open-minded as far as creatively trying to figure that out. Sometimes, yeah, I mean, I'm alone. Sometimes I feel like the Lone Ranger in a way, but I also know how to research and, like this is really good. It's, just finding your people that are doing what you do. And I do have those people I can connect with, but I don't know. It's just kind of, yeah, it's just changing, right? It's been changing for a while and very rapidly. And I'm not a big fan of like AI has its uses and purposes, but I don't know. And it can be helpful, I guess, but it's
It's
like,
massively overhyped by those
I'm not
MBAs.
utilizing it. Yeah. And the other night I was trying to figure out something. I never go to chat, whatever it is, GPT. But well, I was having issues with my Roku TV and I tried everything. So I thought, just put it in there and ask it. Okay. I did. I had about 5 million words. And at the very end, it gave me a heart, like an emoji. And I'm just thinking, what in the hell is this? And it's like, I'm not going to give an emoji back to an AI, whatever, so but I can see how that could be utilized. And I'm not going to say it wasn't helpful, but actually, I'm the one that figured out how to fix my TV. So, chat TP, whatever it is. I mean, I know what it is. I'm not like, I don't want to live in the dark ages either. I want to be the person that's moving forward. I don't want to be the person that goes like, well, all the young ones are doing that and I'll never. That's not, if I can't figure it out, I mean, I'll research the hell out of it and then I'll ask somebody, but that's kind of where I'm at.
The thing with the platforms, though, all of these apps, we're
Yeah.
as artists, or maybe I'll just speak for myself here. I'm incredibly reliant on them. Incredibly reliant. And I mean, they're one of the only tools that I have.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually wouldn't be on this panel if it were not for Blue Sky.
I like Blue Ski better.
I know. I always feel some need to have it. But the thing is, if I wasn't on Twitter when Twitter went down, but a lot of people were, and there were people on there that and this is the case when, for example, when they took Book Talk away from us, and then Trump gave it back and stuff like that. I mean, I lost a 10,000 platform, just boom, overnight, that I had built up for all that time on Book Talk, and it ended up coming back. But it's like and I'm on Meta, and Meta is just, we all saw Zuck chilling with the rest of the villains at the inauguration. So it's difficult. And I recently did join Substack and did one Substack, and then everybody told me, you know they're getting really fascist on there. Well, that's not for me. That's not, I can't be, then I can't have a Substack because I'm not gonna, if it's already a problem, I'm not gonna go on and work my butt off to do a Substack and build an audience on Substack just so the same thing that can happen to me would happen to people when, Musk took over.
Mhm.
So, it's tough because we're relying on them, but they suck.
Mhm.
That's the thing we
They're
do.
Yeah.
they're morally and
Yeah.
So
I
I want to plug, because both of you have mentioned Substack. An alternative to Substack is something called Ghost. That's what we're using at 5050 Matic.
Okay.
And the thing that I like about that, to your point of losing a lot of your members, it's what's called federated. And anyone who's paying, if you're paying attention to some of the things happening in the tech world right now, a federated platform is one that allows you to take your users with you if you want to leave that platform.
oh
Those are
wow.
things like Mastodon is federated. There's a couple of things that are like plugging into the same sort of, it's this concept of like when you had landline phones, you should be able to like take your phone. If I move, I should be able to like unplug my phone from the wall, move somewhere else into a different state, plug it back in, and it works just the same. So Ghost is a platform that's a lot like Substack. They don't let the Nazis on. There's this saying like once you let the Nazis stay in the bar, then you're now a Nazi bar. So like there's Nazis on Substack, like you're saying, but you can move off of there. There are other places to build your platforms. And
Right.
that's part of the new stuff that's coming around of these
That's
like
good.
solutions to
I'm
these
glad you brought that
problems.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I am too. And the thing is I do utilize like you Meta. I'm still on Facebook, but I have to weigh it out. It's like I have a lot of musician friends on there. I
Mhm.
post stuff on there. It's not gonna, and I'm also on Instagram, and Blue Sky. But yeah, I'm definitely utilizing them, but I'm again not happy with all of them. But some of it I need it for my work, you know.
Same.
right.
Same. But if there's a general strike,
Yeah,
I'm off. I'm
yeah,
off all of them
yeah,
Mhm.
because I need it for my work.
Right.
So my justification is that I'm there for work. And if there's a general strike, you will not see me because I will be striking.
right,
Right.
right. Yeah, same
Well,
here.
for what it's worth, I gave a quick demo last night. Our little co-op is working on an app for fandom that is taking a federated approach so that, it's a home for artists, for fandom artists, and, that's authors, writer, or visual artists, all kinds of folks, and the idea is that it's not going to be platform dependent. If, nobody's going to take, we're not going to shut down the company and then you lose everything, you take it with you. So we're all over that like a cheap suit. So, we're gonna take I'm hoping you lovely folks will come back in about a half an hour just to pause it. We're gonna take a break to stretch and thanks for hanging in there so far. And so the idea is I will have we'll just mute, turn off your video and mute for now. We'll keep this Zoom going and then come back in a half an hour and we'll let you back in and we'll have a few more discussions and take it from there.
Okay, cool. So just mute it. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. See you after them at intermission.
Thanks. All right. Stretch.
Cool. Bye for now. Look at this.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey,
Come back?
I'm here.
Did you guys just come back or have you been here?
Okay.
I just
We
came back.
just-
Do you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you loud and clear.
I don't see me.
Did everybody get a good break?
I fed the feral cats
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
and washed it.
Okay, so we will go
There we go.
about, oh. Sorry. I'm just zooming here. So.
Okay. Huh.
Okay.
Huh.
So we're gonna go about a half an hour more
Oh, there we go.
and wind it up. And let me just let's see, is Joe Ray
It just says my video is crossed out. If I click on it, it says the host. Okay. Yeah.
There she is.
Here I am.
Not hearing Zoom audio down here right now.
Yeah, you just give me a minute. Nope. Okay. All right. Okay, let's try that now. Okay, let's try it now. Interesting, the delay. Interesting, the delay.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I'm not sure that this is going to work. I don't know why I'm getting a lag now, a delay. I'm not sure.
Would leaving and coming back into the same room maybe fix it? And without ending the meeting, but with just leaving it. Without ending the meeting. This meeting here.